Hey beautiful people, welcome back to Refining with Jessie, the life coach. So today is all about responding versus reacting. Yes, they are two different things and a lot of people struggle with this. So today I'm going to be sharing some tips on how you can stay grounded, stay in control of your emotions and respond versus reacting. So if you're a person who struggles with that, this video is for you. Guys, when we talk about reacting versus responding, what are we talking about? Well, when you have a reaction to someone, right? Basically, what is happening is your emotions are hijacking your body, right? When a person reacts, they basically give the control to the other person, right? Or circumstance. They are literally saying, here you go. Here's control over all my emotions, and here's a invitation to ruin my day and have me all up in my head. Yes, that's what you do when you react. Responding is more of I am in control of my emotions and I'm not gonna let you take control of me. I'm gonna stay in control of my reaction, right? When you react to any person or situation, what happens is that your emotional body hijacks your whole entire entity. Your emotions hijack your body. That's exactly what happens when you are reacting to any specific situation, especially people. When you're reacting, when you come from a state of reacting, you are basically letting these people control your emotions. That's what they're doing. The control goes to them. When you respond to situations and people, you are in control of your emotions. And this is a hard one for lots of people, myself included. It took me a long time to kind of grasp the concept of responding versus reacting. And one of the main reasons why it was so hard for me is because I didn't understand it in entity. I didn't understand the power, right? So that's what we're gonna get into today. We're gonna talk about the power, how to take your power back, how to really understand it and grasp it. So reactions, why do they happen? Why do we react to other people? Well, they are usually emotionally charged. They are charged by our emotions. That's why I said is when your emotions hijack you. They are impulsive, right? We're not thinking, we just react. We just go in for the kill. That's usually what I call it. We go in for the kill, right? We're not thinking things through. We're not breathing. We're not taking the time to let it pass through us. That's what happens when you react. Your emotions pretty much take over. But when you respond, you're coming from a more practical manner, a practical mindset. You're literally stay in control. You stay grounded, right? You're breathing, right? You're thinking. That's the most important thing. You are thinking and you're thinking things through. You're not letting those emotions take over. Responses are entangled more in reflection. They're based more on facts rather than the emotional side of it. Doesn't mean you don't have emotions. It just means you're controlling it, right? And they are not like impulsive. It's not automatic. You're stopping to think of what you're saying and how you're going to respond. That's what responding is all about. Just taking a moment, even if you need to take a moment to breathe and woosah, right? Woosah, get yourself in alignment, because there are some people who will take you there. Trust me, I know, and I coach other people on how to do this. So I am very aware of how certain people trigger you. I'm also aware that there's a lot of people who do it purposeful. They do it on purpose. Their goal is to get an emotional reaction out of you, right? So number one on how to deal with these individuals, right, is to understand who you are dealing with. Who you are dealing with. Once you start understanding the type of individual and the personality trait that you're dealing with, it's a game changer. I mean, hands down, it's going to be a game changer. I promise you, right? So what do I mean by that? Well, you gotta realize who you're dealing with. Are you dealing with someone who's narcissistic? A lot of narcissistic people love to get an emotional reaction out of you. That's how they steal your energy. Getting you all crazy, back and forth, claiming your side, trying to explain to the other person where you're coming from. You get all frustrated, now you're reacting, and they're sitting there super calm. Why? Because narcissistic people are detached from the empathy. They're detached from the emotions. So of course they're gonna sit there like that while you're over here losing your head, giving away your energy, and getting all flustered. Yes. So with people like that, you have to understand them. You have to think like they think, because once you start doing that, you take away that reaction, because you know that you are feeding into them, and that's the last thing you want to do with a narcissistic person. You do not want to feed into their ego. You do not want to give the situation life. You need to be able to be just as removed as them and stay grounded, right? So it's not only narcissistic people. There's a lot of people you are going to deal with that you have to know who you are dealing with, what type of person you're dealing with, right? People who are emotionally abusive, people who are insecure. These types of people, they're always going to try to get an emotional reaction out of you. And whether they are conscious or unconscious of their behavior, their whole end game, their whole goal is to remove those emotions from them and place them on to you. It's like, oh, I have all this emotional baggage and I want to give it to you because I don't like the way that feels. And if you let them, they will get you out of your head. So, number one is understand who you are dealing with. So I always strongly suggest to people to really start educating themselves about narcissistic people, emotionally unavailable people, insecure people, projection, right? All of these different types of individuals, you really need to learn how to understand who you are dealing with. Once you do that, I promise you it will be a game changer. Why? Why is that a game changer? You know how you cannot give too much of yourself or your emotions into this, because you're the one that's going to wind up depleted, right? So that's super important. Number two, you start learning that your emotional reactions or trying to get them to comprehend and, getting yourself all out of your head is never going to make a difference. I'm going to repeat that because this is what gets people entangled with reacting to others. What you are saying, what you are doing, your reactions is never going to make a difference with these types of people. They are so removed from the emotional body, it doesn't make a difference. Once you start realizing that your energy and your arguments and your reactions are doing nothing for your situation and is only feeding this other person and leaving you depleted, like I said, it's going to be a game changer. One other thing that is beneficial for you to start educating yourself about is energy, vibrations, and conscious levels. This is also a very big, important part that I teach people about. People are only going to respond to you from their conscious level. What does that mean? Everybody's on a different conscious level. Some people are literally awoke. They're woke. You usually hear that, that saying like, I'm awake, I'm woke. What does that mean? That means that you spiritually aligned. That means that you know there's more to the surface level, right? That's what that means. You are a deep thinker. You are in line with your spirituality. You are in line with philosophy. You're like in line with psychology. Your mind just, and your energy is just vibrating on a whole different level. You want a different conscious level. You're operating more from your authentic self than your ego. The closer you are to your ego, the closer you are to lower vibrations, and your consciousness is closed off. Why? Because you're operating from your ego. Your ego is surface level. It's not that deep penetration level. So when you deal with people who are coming from their ego, you're never going to kind of get the response that you're looking for. So that's something else to keep in mind. Once you start learning about energy and vibration and consciousness, you're going to know that sometimes you're going to be speaking a different language because that's the way it's going to feel. Especially if you are not narcissistic. You are emotionally available. You're not insecure. You are a person that has dealt with emotional baggage and released yourself from that, right? If you are on the other side of that, when you deal with people who are on the other side, you're never going to be like on the same page. You're always going to be speaking a different language. It's like you're speaking, Chinese and they're speaking English and you can't comprehend each other. That's literally what it feels like when you operate from different conscious levels and you're on different energetic vibration. So it's super important to learn about energy, vibration, and conscious levels, right? So definitely, guys, educate yourself on these topics. I promise you, it will not be in vain, and it will do you a world of wonders. It's going to expand your own conscious level. It's going to be, it's going to expand your own knowledge base, and it's going to help you learn how to work and deal with other people, right? A lot of people think when they are responding versus reacting that they're like, okay, well, I'm just being a person that people step all over. No, not necessarily. You can be very assertive, but not aggressive. Those are two very different things. So when you are reacting, you're going to be aggressive. When you are responding, you can still say what you need to say, but you don't need to curse. You don't need to scream. You don't need to go get out of your head. It doesn't have to ruin your whole day. You just say what you have to say in an honest way and let it go. You just let it go. You don't care how the other person responds. You don't care what their comeback is going to be. That's the difference between responding versus reacting, right? Second tip, when you're trying to get to that place that you're responding to people versus reacting, have to breathe. And I laugh because there's been times when I've been in situations and I literally just I have blown up, right? So you have to breathe. That has been the greatest tip for me, and I teach other people how to do it. Like, just breathe, take a minute, and we usually do like practice rounds. Like, we literally practice it. Like, I'll say something that I know is going to trigger the other person in coaching just to see how they respond, right? And I always tell them, okay, what do? You take a moment, you stop, you pause, let it pass through you, and then breathe it in and breathe it out. It sounds like something so simple and so small, but I promise you, that moment is gonna take away that impulse to just like, I gotta say something. I gotta go after this person. I gotta defend myself. No, what you gotta do is take a moment, listen to what they're saying, pause, and breathe. Like woosah, like just breathe it out. Breathe it out. If you have to do it a few times, just do it. Breathe it out. And if you can't control that and this person is really triggering you, right? Because let's be honest, we are all human beings. There are some people that are going to get deep down in us, no matter how much in control we are of our emotions. Sometimes they just hit that point, or they hit our breaking point, right? So if still you feel like you're ready to explode, just get up and say, I need a minute. Or I'm going to go to the ladies' room, or I'm going to go to the men's room. Just remove yourself from the situation. Go take a breather, go get some air, go drink some water, calm yourself down. Especially when you are in a school or a work environment, right? You do not want to, let those situations escalate. And when you're at school and work, you can't just get all out of your head. You just can't, right? There will be repercussions. And you don't want to be seen as that person who cannot control their emotions, right? When we can't control our emotions, that is a sign of our maturity level, right? That's why when we're younger, when you're like super young, kids have temper tantrums. Why? Because they can't control the emotions. But as we get older, we should be able to control our emotions. We should be able to know when to let our emotions out, when to release them, who to respond to, who not to respond to. And as you get older, what you're going to realize is not everybody, requires a reaction or a response. Some people are not even worth it. Situations are not even worth it, right? Or the aftermath is not even worth what could possibly happen if you were to react, right? So that's why it's so important to be able to respond, and that's why it becomes easier as you get older. Because a lot of times you get older, you don't want to deal with drama. You don't want to deal with the chaos. You're just like, I'm so tired and done with people and their crap that I just don't even want to be bothered. Yes, that's how you get when you get older. So the older you get, usually it becomes easier not to give so much, attention and life to situations. But if you are younger, or you still haven't mastered it as an older person, hopefully these tips are going to help you, right? So tip 3 is you always have to think about the consequences. That's a lot of the times people don't think about this. They just, like they're like fireballs with their words. You have to think about the consequences. Is what I'm saying even beneficial to this discussion? Is it gonna get us to where we need to be? A lot of the times when you're dealing with people, sometimes you could be coming from, you want to get to both want to get to the same place. You both want to get to that middle, that equal common ground. You both want to compromise and work with one another, but egos get in the way, right? I have to be right gets in the way. I have to win at all costs gets in the way. I can't let this person see me in a vulnerable state. All of that, that's all ego driven gets in the way, right? So you got to really ask yourself, like, is this even worth it, right? Start speaking to yourself. Like I tell people all the time, speak to yourself and ask these questions out loud. What am I gaining from going back and forth with this person? What am I going to gain by tearing this person down? What am I going to gain by having the last word? Is it even worth it? Is it going to bring in, the desired outcome that I want? Majority of the time, the answer is no. So why would you even bother giving it energy and feeding it attention with a reaction? Is it worth it? So ask yourself that. 4 is to get really acquainted and understand the real depth of some of these comments I'm going to mention. What people think of me is none of my business. I mean, really take that in and really understand what's behind it. What people think of me is none of my business, right? Who cares? Who cares what people think about you, right? A lot of the times when we are coming from a space of reaction, we're reacting to gossip, we're reacting to somebody said this, somebody said that, right? Like I mentioned before, narcissistic people, they love to get reactions out of you. If you ever dealt with a narcissistic person, you will notice that after you have a falling out with them, they would try to go, run you through a smear campaign. They would try to take your name and smear it through the mud, right? So they'll talk about how controlling you are, how, you did this and you did that, and they're the victim. They'll go to your friends, they'll talk about you at the job, they'll talk about you in the school, they'll talk about you with if you have common friends. It goes on and on and on. So what do? You don't care. That's what you do. You don't care. You have to get to the point that you have to say to yourself, what people think about me is none of my concern. I could care less. If you're secure with who you are and you know that this other person you're dealing with, like, they're being petty and they're being childish and it's just foolishness, you don't want to react to foolishness, right? You don't want to, keep feeding the fire. Just let it go. Ignore it. Ignore it. You know what? Majority of the time, you come out looking like the bigger person. Why? Because you're not engaging in childish behavior. So understanding that concept is going to be a big one for you. Understanding the value of your energy and what you put your energy into, especially people. When you deal with people who are always looking for reactions versus response from you, you got to ask yourself, is this really worth my energy? Is, my energy, me being, impulsive and feeding into this, that requires energy. That requires your time. That requires your attention. That requires your verbiage, right? Your words, all of that. Why am I giving this energy? When you start understanding the value of your energy and how and what you should be investing your energy into because it's so valuable, you're not going to want to engage in reactions because you're like, this person is just stealing my energy. Every time you react and you get out of your head and you're impulsive and you're screaming and you're cursing and this person ruined your day, right? Probably ruined your month, your year, whatever it is. Guess what? Congratulations. You just gave away your power and you just gave away your energy to someone else. And they're all just chilling and happy because guess what? They got you out of your head. They got you to look like the bad person. They got you to look like the person who's impulsive and crazy, That's usually what they'll say to other people. You see? That's what I'm talking about. Look who I'm dealing with, He or she they can't contain themselves. They can't contain their reaction. You see what I mean? Yeah, that's what they do. That's called manipulation. And, they'll flip the script. They'll get you out of your head. And then, they'll talk about how you are acting all crazy because your energy level is all over the place. So once you start realizing how valuable your energy is and what you should be investing your energy into and how expensive it is and how you don't want to waste it on things that don't matter or people who don't matter, guess what? Congratulations, you start leveling up and you start coming from a place of more responding versus reacting. One to remember is that silence speaks way louder than words. Yes, my beautiful beings. Kill people with your silence. Oh my God, this is so powerful. It is so powerful. You can drive another person crazy with your silence and your ability to not participate in nonsense, chaos, and drama. Some people they're addicted to drama. They're addicted to chaos. It's the only way they know how to communicate. Some people they believe that that's like love and that's the way people interact, right? They believe that's healthy because a lot of people are operating, like I said, from the ego. Not only that, but a lot of people don't know what a healthy relationship or dynamic looks like. And I'm talking about any relationship. Friendship, co-workers, lovers, family members. Some people have never been exposed to it. A lot of people are operating under default programming. And a lot of that default programming is emotional abuse, right? A lot of people have been raised in emotional abusive dynamics and they don't know what a healthy dynamic looks like. So to them, when you are screaming back and forth and you're giving them, a reaction and you're engaged with them and you're trying to work it out, that's what love feels like. But you know what? That is not love. That's just nonsense. That's bullshit. We're just going to call it what it is. That's just bullshit, chaos, drama, and no relationship needs that, okay? You cannot survive a relationship with that. Or you can't survive it. It's just going to be a super unhealthy relationship. And who wants that, right? So you have to be mindful of that. And the way to shut down any argument, any issue, is to just be silent, to understand and evaluate the people you are dealing with, right? So once you start understanding someone else's mindset, like what I mean by that is some people are super stubborn, right? They're super stubborn. There's some people who are very narrow-minded. They only see things in black and white. There's no grayscale, right? There's some people that is like, it's my way or the highway, right? Those type of people, you're not going to get nowhere with them. So why are you, reacting to them? Why are you reacting to them? It's going to go nowhere. And that goes back to that question that you're asking yourself. Where is this going? Is me reacting going to do anything for this situation? Is it going to change the outcome? Are we going to get to the outcome that I desire? And if the answer is no, then why do you react, right? So a lot of this requires you kind of to check yourself, to be honest, to check yourself and say, why am I participating in this? Is this person's mindset set on this? Some people's mindset are set on misunderstanding you no matter what you say. Have you ever dealt with a person like that? I know I have. You explain yourself over and over and over and over, but their mindset is stuck that you did this for this reason. You did this for this reason. And that becomes very frustrating. And that starts triggering you and starts setting off a reaction to you. So if you know that that's the type of person you're dealing with, and you would know if that's the type of person you're dealing with, right? Or you would learn, then you gotta stop feeding into the reaction and start responding versus reacting, because it's gonna get you nowhere. You're not gonna change their mind, and your reaction is not gonna do nothing for the situation. And the last one out of this category is not everyone and everything requires your response. Once you start learning that, that's another game changer. It's gonna be a game changer, right? Because you're like, well, I don't need to respond to this or react. Like, certain things just don't require your participation. So you gotta start being mindful. Like I always tell people, I just did a video on energy, right? You gotta start being mindful of what you're putting your energy into. And every time you react or respond to anything, circumstance, people, place, whatever, that is energy. And you have to start asking yourself, does this even matter? What we're going back and forth in doesn't really matter. Does this person even matter? Not everything requires a reaction or response from you. Certain things are so low vibrational, and certain things are just like, who cares? At the end of the day, it's like, who cares? So start asking yourself that, and it's going to be a game changer for you. Like, everything and everyone does not require a response or reaction. So don't give it. Just don't give it. So remember, Reacting comes from an impulsive place that is emotionally driven. You want to be able to be in control. So you have to think from a practical manner, especially when you're dealing with super difficult people. When you're dealing with a difficult person and you have to deal with them, right? You have to deal with them. You need to start asking yourself, how can I diffuse the situation? You got to learn how to be the bigger person. And that's going to be hard, especially if they're doing things that is unfair, right? Like they're saying they're hitting below the belt and things like that, and they're looking for that reaction out of you. You got to just take a moment, take a step back. If it's in person, take a step back. You know, a lot of people also are very reactive in email and things like that, right? They get an email, somebody said something that they didn't like, or, you know, they're trying to defend themselves and they go off on tangents, and then they send emails that is like, okay, you didn't even think it through, right? So really start thinking things through. Let your emotions have a moment. Have a pause, especially if you have time. Like if it's an email or something that's directly not in front of you, take a moment. You know, type that email up before you hit that send button. Read it back to yourself. Read it back to yourself and say, okay, how does this sound? If it sounds aggressive, then you know what? Take a moment, take a walk, do something else. Come back to it after you let those emotions pass through you. Or if you're dealing with a partner, right? Because partners can trigger us, right? I feel like that's what they're on this planet to do, right? They can trigger us, especially, you know, partners, they usually know us the best, or family members, they usually know us the best. So they know exactly what buttons to push to get a reaction out of us, right? So that's super important. You know what? They start triggering you, or you're in a discussion with your partner, take a step back and say, all right, you know what? Let's not talk about this right now. Matter of fact, there's two big responses that you need to learn right now. And number one is, let's agree to disagree. When you're going back and forth with a person and you cannot find that common ground, let's agree to disagree. End the discussion. Don't keep on feeding it. End the discussion. Second, I hear what you're saying, I just don't agree with it. That's it. You don't have to go back and forth arguing and trying to prove your point and prove what you're saying and prove this. I hear what you're saying, I just don't agree with it. There's always to take a breather. That's a bonus. Take a breather. Take a breather. Let's revisit this later. That's a good one for a partner, right? Because you got to deal with them. They're your partner, right? Well, you don't technically have to deal with them, but you know, but if they are your partner and you want to keep them in your life and they like to trigger you and you get into these spats and arguments here and there, you know what, honey? Let's just take a breather for now. You know, let's just revisit this when our emotions have died down, because I'm starting to get upset, you know, and we could just talk about this in a later time. That's exactly how you deal with it. Let the emotions calm down, take a walk, go here, let a few days pass, and when you both have calmed down, revisit it so your mind is nice and fresh and it's in a different space, you know? You might have a different perspective, right? How many times have you dealt with something, a situation, a person, especially romantic situation, and you give yourself some time, you detach, you take a break. Some people take break, like real breaks. They break up, right? And then some people get back together and they see things from a different perspective. Same concept. This is the same concept. When your emotions are hijacking your body and you're very reactive, right? You're not going to be able to think clearly because your emotions are boggling down your mind. You're not going to think, in a factual sense. You're going to only think about my pain, my emotions. You did this to me, right? So you have to detach from that. You got to feel your feelings, let the emotions pass, and then come back and revisit the situation once you are clear of that and you can see and think straight. Okay? So that's the best way how to respond versus reacting. Take your time. Detach from situations that don't even matter, that it's not even of value and worth of to you. And if you have to, breathe in and out, take a pause, understand who you are dealing with, super important, and then really think about, is this even worth it? Those are super important when you're trying to respond versus reacting. Remember, not everything and everyone deserves your reaction. They don't deserve possibly even a response. So really consider that. Really consider how you're responding to people. Don't let people hijack your emotions. Do not give them that power. When you let people take you out of your head, ruin your day, ruin your month, ruin your year, guess what? You gave your power away. You don't want to do that. You want to stay grounded in your own power. You don't want to be affected by every single person who does something shitty to you or says something that's out of line. Guess what? There's a lot of people out here who are going to test you. There's a lot of people not vibrating on a high frequency. They're all about themselves. Some people are literally out here to get reactions out of you, to use you, abuse you. You have to be able to protect yourself, and you have to be able to protect your energy and how you are reacting to people. Because if you react to every single thing, you're always going to be stuck in an emotional state, and you don't want to do that. Okay, so if you've been struggling with how to respond versus reacting, I hope some of these tips have helped you. As I tell everyone, if you ever struggle with that and you're looking for coaching, especially in the new year, we have a new year coming up. There's a lot of people looking to change themselves and get into alignment. 2020 is going to be a year of rebirth, new beginnings, and you want to make sure you're going into the new year with some new fresh perspectives. And if you need coaching on that, my information is going to be in the description box. You can look into my services for that, and I will see you next time. Bye.